Hey guys, this is Ricky Snyder. I'm going to be doing my case study here for you guys today for class EDL 856. Some of the things that you might need to know about this case study. The first thing is Mrs. Rose is the new assistant principal, and she's kind of had some ongoing dialogues with the principal about maybe setting up some PTO meetings and things like that, just to get some more parents involved because they just don't have very good parental support. Administration at first was kind of hesitant to do this. Now they've kind of come on board, so we'll see where that goes from here on out. The second thing you need to know is very few parents have shown up to these meetings. The principal said he's communicated, he feels like effectively with the parents, but no parents have shown very much interest, and there's been a lot of apathy going along with this. Another thing you need to know, there was an invitation sent out with the kids at the end of school one day inviting their parents to attend a meeting later that evening about discussing the parental involvement, and 8 parents showed up to this meeting. So obviously there was somewhere along the way there was either apathy, they didn't want to come, or there was a lack of communication, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later. Some things that I need to know before moving forward. Why aren't the parents showing up? Is it that they just don't care, they don't want to be involved, or is it because their message isn't being relayed from the school to home? That's one of the things that you need to get to the bottom of and figure that out along the way. And then the second thing is, if there's more parental support, will there be more administrative support? Again, initially the principal didn't really want to get involved. Now he was starting to get involved. Again, he might seem like he might be backing off, but if we can say, hey, we've got X amount of parents, we're getting all these parents involved, do we have your support? I think that there will be support, but that's one thing that we need to take a look at as well. So the problem after looking at what I know and what I need to know is this: how do I get the parents more involved in their child's educational experience? And that's what we're going to take a look at, how we can get them involved and make it a better learning experience for their child. The plan of action that I propose that we take: first of all, talk to all the parents that came to those meetings. The 8 sets of parents that were there. Talk to them and tell them what you want to do, and encourage them to become advocates of what you are trying to do. Because if they buy into what you are doing and they believe what you are saying, then they will have a big effect on all those other parents, and then it'll just kind of be a snowball effect, and then other parents will start trickling in, and you'll get much more support that way. They can be a great advocate and sell what you're trying to get across and what you're trying to accomplish. Also, find a few teachers who would be willing to help. Teachers may not be seen as the authoritative figure that an administrator is, and so maybe they are more approachable, and they can talk to the parents, say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Maybe they know some more people, and maybe they're respected in the community, and say, look, we need your help. This is what we need from you. Can you guys help us out in this area? And maybe they'll be more willing to work with a teacher as opposed to that scary authoritative administrator person. And then the third thing for my plan of action would be contact the parents using various means of communication, which we'll take a look at on the next slide. The communication strategies. First of all, letter mailed to all parents identifying the reasons behind the meeting instead of sending it home with the kids, and I'll talk about that later. Send out information on the school website posted out there. Maybe parents check the school website regularly, and that might be a way to get them the information that they need. Send out emails. Maybe they don't check their mail regularly. Maybe they have a habit of throwing letters away from the school, so maybe an email sent out to them might be a better strategy. Who knows? Putting out an announcement in the newspaper, TV, and radio. Just another means of communication, so that maybe the people that we're not getting, maybe we can get them through the newspaper, TV, or radio. And then the last way, good old-fashioned phone call. Almost kind of like a door-to-door salesman, except you're on the phone calling people and just telling them, it might be harder for them to tell you no. It's easy to throw a letter away or delete an email or whatever, but it might be harder for them to tell you, no, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this over the phone, or that just might make it more difficult for them to do that. One thing I want to take a look at, when you always want to make sure that you are doing what is best for the students when you are trying to solve a problem, and that's one of the things I wanted to look at with this case study. is it best for the parents to be involved? And I think yes, that it is. It's best for the students because if their parents are, pushing school at home, the kids obviously are going to care more about it and care what's going on and strive to do their best if their parents are pushing them at home. If parents aren't involved, the kids probably aren't getting a lot of encouragement at home, and then, the kids probably apathetic towards school just like their parents are. So it's better for them to be involved. It's also better for the parents to know what's going on in the school. Again, then they can talk to their child at home. And again, I go back to that's best for students. Parents being involved at home, if they know what's going on in school, know that the school is trying to accomplish this, they can kind of help their kids and encourage and push them a little bit. And it's not just the 8 to 3 at school, they're getting some encouragement and some justification at home as to why the teachers and the school are doing the things that they are doing. So the resolution of the problem that I came up with, again, the problem was how do we get more parents involved? And I said the resolution, by communicating better with parents, their involvement with the school and in their child's education will increase. Okay? And by using all those different strategies, we might be able to grab a few more parents in by talking to the small group of parents that we have on board. They're going to get the ball rolling rather than just saying, oh, we only have 8, forget it. No. You start off small and you keep building and building and building, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. My feelings throughout this, there's a couple things that I noticed when I was doing this case study. Initially I felt like sending a note home with the child was not the best way of communicating with the parents. We all know kids. Some of them are going to take that right home and say, here, Mom and Dad, this is what my teacher handed me gave you. Some of it's going to get lost on the bus. Some of the kids are just going to forget. Some of the kids don't care. I just don't feel like that's the best way. Or, maybe that's a good way initially, but we've got to do more ways, or we're only going to get a small percentage like we saw show up to the meeting. You've got to use all the different ways of communicating that you can to get your message across. And then 2, not a lot of administrative support, but eventually I think there would be. The more and more parents who got involved, then I think the administration would jump on board. I think initially they didn't want to put a lot of work into it if they knew it was going to be a failure. But if they see that it's becoming more and more of a success, I think that administrative support will be there, and that will continue to be a good thing. Are there any unresolved issues throughout this? Maybe by taking some data and talking to people, figure out what's the best way of communication, and maybe there's a small group that the best way is email, or a small group the best way is letters or phone calls. Figure out which groups fit into what, and then adapt that and make that your best way of communication with individual groups. Maybe you have a call tree, or maybe you have an email tree, or forward emails, or whatever. Whatever the best way of communication is, you want to make it easiest for you and also make it easiest for the parents that are putting in their time and effort. And then unresolved issues, administrative support, again, I think that'll be there as long as you continue to have success with it. Component 1, I want to take a look at how I was incorporating the ISLIC standards, ISLIC standard number 4. The first way was component 1 was collaborating with families and community members. I enlisted the help of teachers. Maybe their community members, maybe they can get involved and talk with different families as well. Enlist the help of parents that are already involved. Those 8 parents that showed up, they can do a great number by encouraging all those other parents to show up. And then by me or other teachers or parents just calling the other parents that aren't involved. That's how we are collaborating with those families and trying to get them involved. Component 2 was responding to diverse needs of the community. We were able to hit a number of different needs of the community by, maybe using different means of communication, whether that be notification via email or notification via letter or notification on the school website. Some people, may not have internet access, so then we send the letter out via the U.S. Post Service. Maybe some of them don't have access, or maybe they have a hard time getting out, and so they don't get their mail every single day, so we send them an email or put it on the school website. We're just responding to those different needs of our community. And the third component was mobilizing community resources, getting all the resources we can, using all the resources we can in the community, and that was via newspaper and radio and television. Maybe all those other people don't have computer access, don't check their mail often, but maybe they watch TV or listen to the radio or read the newspaper every day. So again, we're using those resources that we have available to us, and I feel like that will continue to get all the parents and more parents involved, and which is definitely a good thing. Okay, that concludes my observation, or my whatever you want to call it, over the case study. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.